B.O.B.
What up, world? It's your boy Chuck Wick, ill, aka Charles Brown, back again with another review. But first, I want to ask you a question. Are you good? Are you really, really good? It's COVID season. It's election season. All kind of stuff going on. A lot of depressing stuff. Thanksgiving just passed. And couldn't even chill with your family for the most part. So are you really good? Good. All right. So, Goodie Mob talking about all that good stuff on their new album, Survival Kit. The good die mostly over bull. That's what the Goodie Mob represents. That's what they stand for. If you remember Goodie Mob from back in the day, back in the 90s, I am one of those hardcore elite Goodie Mob fans. Still rock with Goodie Mob to this day. And I want to talk a little bit about Goodie Mob, Organized Noise, Outkast, Witch Doctor, you know, that whole little clique. I be forgetting people in that clique too. I know Future was a part of that. And it's a couple other people that we don't talk about. But I want to talk about Goodie Mob as a unit and about how I feel about Goodie Mob. So Goodie Mob, right? What year was this? I think Goodie Mob came out. They came out at the Cast. They was all over Cast joint. And then Goodie Mob had to be like, I know I'm going to be off with this, because I really don't remember. I know Goodie Mob 97, 98, something like that. Around that time, when they dropped something like that. 96, 97, something like that. Because I know Cast was like 94, 95. And Goodie Mob was right behind them. So at the end of the day, they all came out at the same time. Goodie Mob was the South's answer to revolutionary. They were the public enemy of the South. I want to say, I'm trying to remember if anybody from the South was super duper chitlins in revolution like the Goodie Mob was. I really don't remember anybody. I could be bugging right now, but I don't remember any Southern super revolutionary. Arrested Development, maybe? Arrested Development, maybe, but I'm not sure if they're how Southern they are. But before Goodie, I might be tripping right now, but I can't remember any super revolutionary group like Goodie. And Goodie was not only revolutionary, though, they were street as well. They had a lot of hood-based reality lyrics, and a lot of their stuff was very ghetto mentality, very we deal drugs, but we don't, have no other choice type of thing. It wasn't, because like revolutionary, that don't even, you're not even talking about drug dealing. You know what I'm saying? You're not talking about Billy Clinton and all this stuff. You're not talking about the Red Dogs jumping out the car and all. You're not talking about that when you're revolutionary. So they were relatable to us because we were in the trap, for lack of a better word, but we knew something was wrong. Even though we accepted what we were in and we did what we had to do for our circumstance, we knew it wasn't right. And we couldn't explain why. And you learn, the FOI and Nation of Islam, all this stuff. You learn as you're coming up with Farrakhan and all this stuff. Not only just even the regular church, you learn things that make you understand how the game is played and how you're at a disadvantage most times. If you're not from that, you can't understand that. It doesn't resonate to you. If you don't drive your car and have a cop go past you and then see you and then bust you and follow you and try to see if you make any kind of mistake so he can pull you over and then come to your window and start asking you mad questions unrelated to why he pulled you over, just so he can try to figure out a way to get you out that car, to search your car, to arrest you, lock you up, or worse. If you don't understand that, you'll never relate to any of this. And I get frustrated when I'm on Twitter and I see these guys, right, who have no clue of that struggle, so they try to box you in with their ideologies, and they try to make their upbringing or the advantages they've had as the same as your advantages, and try to downplay what you've been through, because, well, you could have just did this, well, you could have just did that, you could have just did this, that, and the third, and you didn't have to. But they were never, it never was in their, they were never in the situation, so they don't understand it, and so it's foreign. So they got a lot of numbers and a lot of stats and digital, virtual scenarios of what you should have did and what you can do, but it's not their reality. So they won't be able to relate to you. And then they come on and then they tell you about how you're doing the protest wrong, or how you're doing the looting wrong, for lack of a better word. How everything is wrong, and how you should have did it this way, how that should have been. But if you're not in that situation and you haven't seen it 500 times already, then it means nothing to you. So back in 1992, I believe it was, whenever the Rodney King riots were, right? On the news every day, you're seeing Rodney King get beat up. Then you're seeing the undisputable evidence that these cops was wrong. They went overboard, beat him. And then you see him get all acquitted, if I'm not mistaken, all of them. It clearly was a miscarriage of justice, for lack of a better word. So no matter what, Rodney King's personal life, you know what I'm saying? So this is what they do. They make his personal life the forefront of how he was on drugs and this and that. It doesn't matter. You don't beat a man down like that. So if he wasn't on drugs, would it still have been okay? You know what I'm saying? So it's like they beat him down and they got acquitted for it. They made the slightest little move that he makes, that's an aggressive move. He's trying to get up because he's dazed, he's confused. Your body instinct is to lift off the ground. So they hit him and kick him. It's 5, 6 of y'all. How many baton hits does he need? You know how many kicks to the back does he need? So there was a riot. People started taking stuff from stores and looting and burning. They hit Reggie Denny in the face with a brick, which I didn't agree with. A lot of stuff happened. Now, with that being said, there were a lot of things shown on the news and a lot of people commenting on the news, and a lot of people saying black people were ignorant, and a lot of people saying they only looted to get free stuff, which in some cases they were. There was a lot of people that ran out that had nothing to do with the protest, which they still do to this day, just to go get a free TV. They see that stuff is being burnt and people are angry, so they go and run and get a new PS3 or whatever. They run and grab new stuff, a new blender, just anything they can snatch, shoes, whatever. Kick in the door, boom. There's no cops there. Why not? All right? So with that being said, we get to the point where we have these revolts and these protests and these angry mobs, right? Going out and showing their displeasure with the system. A person that can't understand that will discredit or dehumanize that person. Why are you burning down your own stuff? Why you kicking in your own doors? This is your community. And it's right. Why would you do that? But when you've seen, if you're 50 years old and you lived in these communities between the 60s and the 80s or the 70s and the 90s, and you've seen time after time a guy get beat down, chased, shot, this ain't no, every time it happens now, they fine-tooth comb each experience until they find something for the black person to be wrong. Right? So Breonna Taylor, now the narrative is she's a drug dealer. Right? It's false narrative. True or false, it's irrelevant. Because when you can start shooting drug dealers in their bed, let me know. Right? You know what I'm saying? Let me know if that's the new justice system. Until then, you're not supposed to just bust all shots. And I get it. He shot first. It's convoluted, but they all are. Almost every single cop shooting is going to be convoluted because the cop shot for a reason. No matter how big or how small he made that reason, he shot for his reason. You get the classic "I feared for my life," which is basically a get out of jail free card any life fearing at all. The slightest. He turned around. I was scared. I shot. So it get out of jail free. You know what I'm saying? But it's all convoluted and it's all misunderstood. It's all easily glossed over when it's someone of color because they think you're violent. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not you had potential, you were intended to be violent or you are, it doesn't matter. You're assumed violent. Like they shot that kid, Tamar, 11 years old, 12, had a fake pistol. Never mind that he's a kid. Never mind the pistol's fake. Never mind he's in the park playing with this. He's black. He might shoot me. I want to go home. I'm going to shoot him first. And therefore, it's justified. Therefore, that kid is dead for playing with a pistol. That's a pretend gun. Half a second thought, you would have seen that was a pretend gun. But he's black. He's violent. He may shoot. So that's the narrative. And when you paint that narrative long enough, it becomes viable in court that they could fear for their life. Even though your whole job is, you're in a dangerous profession. You're not supposed to be adding danger by being scary when you're doing your job. You're making it 10 times worse when you come into the scene. And a lot of them ain't scared. Like the guy who shot up in Breonna Taylor's house from the street. The only one charged shoots up into Breonna Taylor's house from the street. He can't see anyone. Do you understand what I'm telling you? He's looking up at a window. He doesn't see anyone. He just hears gunshots and just starts shooting at the window. How preposterous is that? How insane is that? Like, if you saw it in a movie, you would think this would never happen. You would walk out of the theater. No cop is just going to arbitrarily hear gunshots and shoot at a window without seeing anyone. Who do you expect to hit? You may hit your fellow officer. What is the point of that? But again, I heard gunshots, I shot, right? And that's the narrative. We're so violent, so dangerous, which, if you want to get deeper, you were made into that from the constant fear from the time you were a slave to the time you were Jim Crowed to the time you were completely told you couldn't enter these places or violence will happen to you. You become conditioned to violence, right? You become conditioned to violence to survive. When there's 20 of them come to grab your uncle out of a house and hang him in a tree, you start to think, man, I'm not trying to get hung from a tree. You get violent. And then you get to hating your own people because they hate them so much, they teach you to hate them. So then you become violent, and then now you're a violent individual who thinks violence solves everything. You're impoverished. You are given less than your school care, your health care, everything is less. It is a proven fact. They had to pass laws to get basic health care. Black people had to go see vets because the doctor wouldn't see them because they were black. They had to go see a veterinarian. It is a fact. So when you live like this and then you come into 2020 and then try to tell me slavery been over, why are you mad? You know what I'm saying? It's generational. It is proven knowledge. It would take 200 years for the average black person to catch up with the wealth of white people. It's just a fact. These are numbers. I didn't make this stuff up. It's generational wealth handed down from the slave trade, which was a profitable. The entire country existed on. If it was not for that, you would have no America. And when your country is steeped into that, the money of it, the richness of it, the most powerful nation in the world is built on the backs of black people. It is a problem. So then we get to the point where we're dehumanized, but yet we brought the entire value of the country to where it is today. We fought in every war, right? But we're dehumanized. We're the ones on TV being called the N-word. And we're the ones getting pushed out of Trump rallies because we're the N-word, right? And we're beneath them. We make America great again means we back in our place. But without us, it wouldn't be no place, right? All of that stems to Goodie Mob. Southern revolutionaries, this is where we are with this. So once you understand why these guys are so angry, and I'm going to talk about the evolution of Goodie Mob, you start to understand what they're talking about. Survival kit. A lot of this is survival out here in this country. A couple of us have made it, more of us have not. And when you listen to Goodie Mob back in the day, you got it. Who's that peeking through my window? Wow, nobody now. They didn't have to explain it to you. If you were in the metropolis, if you were in the city and you were, or not even, if you were just a part of this existence, this thing, and you were on the other side of the coin, not the coin where you can be anything you want to be, Tommy. No, not that coin. I'm talking about the coin where the odds of you getting a job with Tommy were slim to none, unless you were mopping the floor or cleaning up the office, emptying the trash cans. And they want to tell you affirmative action, now you got the leg up. That's not true, but it is what it is. So when you factor all that in and you start to realize, one of the saddest things is that a lot of guys only would have what they have due to being criminals. Process that. If you took away crime, how much money would never see the black community? It is sad, bro. If you take away people who break and enter, who rob, who go and do credit card scams and do these PP these scams with the loans and the drugs, people who, even for people who go do murder for hire, like, all of this is money generated illegally. But then someone goes and buys new Jordans, and they go buy, a new car, and they go buy a chain, and they put that money, and it ain't even in the community. You understand? But they get these things, and they feel important, and they get these lavish things. We've been trained to want lavish things since the 70s and 80s. We have looked at the others who have it and wanted that. We covet that. Why do you think we want Gucci? We want Dolce & Gabbana. We want all of this stuff because we see them with it. And we see these magazines with these models, these wafer-thin models with these bathing suits and these expensive perfumes, and we want that. Why do you think these girls want these $700 handbags? They don't want it just to want it. They want it because it's a status symbol. And who has to buy that? Who's running around buying these bags? These rich drug dealers. If you think a rapper started buying these expensive bags for these girls, you don't know what you're talking about. The drug dealers in the 80s got these girls wanting these sunglasses and these hats and all this nice, beautiful stuff. This MCM and all this stuff. This is the drug dealer who did that. Right? The drug dealer made these women unafraid to accept the drug money, because how else were they going to get it? You got girls to this day making songs about they only want a guy that got big money. So what you supposed to do? You don't get big money by going to college for 4 years. You understand? That money, to get big money, it's going to take a lot more than 4 years of college. It's going to take connections. It's going to take luck. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take a lot to get big money to buy what these drug dealers can buy right now. It's a fact. It's lawyers in their 30s that still got school loans that they're paying off, bro. This is no joke. Whatever their color is. So you got a guy that's selling drugs at 16 making more than a lawyer. Right? This is where we're going with this. So then we get to the point where this is all we have to a degree. And we're judged for it. And we feel like, nah, it's not that simple that I'm just a criminal. I'm trying to make it out here and live like you, lavish. We see the yachts. We see the trips to Morocco and all this. We see that. We want that. Nobody want to keep going to Jamaica every year. You know what I'm saying? We want more. You know what I'm saying? We want more just like everyone else. And it becomes a risky proposition when you're doing crime to achieve what normal people go to school and achieve. Right? So therefore, it's survival, because you can die doing that. And we're willing to take the risk because, believe it or not, sad to say, yeah, you could go to school and you could get luck up and get this and that. But for the most part, it's not happening. Right? Most of the people in the hood are not going to go to school and are not going to be lawyers and doctors. It is just a fact. So what are they supposed to do? Be broke the rest of their life? Be janitors or nothing at all? Working on the side of the road, like begging for what are they supposed to do? So they go do crime and become these big time drug dealers. And some of them they're still rebels, even though they're dealing drugs in the hood, right? So I say all of that to say, circle back and listen to the Goodie Mobs and listen to the Outcast, listen to the verses. They aren't all positive. A lot of that is, we're out here in these streets, we're in this trap, but we're going to explain why we're out here. And yeah, we're going to floss a little bit, but we're going to, they're still talking about, I got this, especially cee-lo, he got the Maybach in this because he got money. But at the end of the day, we're still here to represent our people, and this is what we're going to do. So that was a pretty long-winded way around to where we are today with Goodie Mob, Survival Kit, Andre 3000, Big Boy appearing on here. They're still with us. They're still talking about what we're talking about. They're still in the struggle, even though they have been in the music business for over 20 years. Now, the music business is very fickle. You're not going to be rich the entire time you're in the music business. No one is. You're going to be living off money from residuals at some point, especially right now with the COVID thing going on where you can't even tour and make your money like they normally make it. It's a very different world right now. So some of these Goodie Mob guys are still struggling and trying to eat and do things like that. And, some of them are not. cee-lo, again, I mentioned cee-lo, but some of them are still in the struggle. Some of them could be getting any kind of form of assistance for all we know. We don't know, right? But they feel what we're feeling. They're in our same boat, mentally and in some cases, physically. So this is a product of that. We all know Goodie Mob low-key broke up. We know cee-lo went his route, became the cee-lo of, what was it? What show is that? The Voice. That's cee-lo. Just very marketable, very mainstream, very in the mix, did a lot of features and completely moved away from his Goodie Mob roots. I remember cee-lo as the fat kid in the video that was talking about how his mama called him lazy and how he didn't smoke as much as she think he smoked, and he wanted to work, but he just couldn't find work. Just a broke fat kid in the hood. Like, everybody know that kid. You know what I'm saying? Like the kid from Lean on Me, just fat in the hood, on the wrong path, going down fast. And that's what we felt we could relate to him because, yeah, you didn't want to be lazy, but a lot of stuff was set up against you. So what's your first thing you end up doing is going out into the street and finding work that way, the wrong way. So, some people say it's wrong. Some people say this is all I got. And if a lot of people was in that same position, a lot of these Fortune 500 guys would end up making Fortune 500 money doing that because this is just a mind state. You know what I'm saying? It's about what some people just are going to make money no matter what. And it is what it is. And that's what Goodie Mob, in a roundabout way, have become. They broke up. cee-lo went and did his thing. They came back together. I want to, not, it hasn't been recently because they did an album right before this. So when they did those first couple albums, I think the first 4, they did World Party, which a lot of us, I heard Cujo recently say World Party was the most slept on record. We didn't give them a chance because we didn't want to accept that they could be grown men, and we didn't want to move forward and let them become what they were going to become. I think he's right. I personally did not really rock with World Party as a record. I completely went in expecting what I expected. Did not give it a chance. But I'm going to be honest with you. I went back and tried to listen to it again, and I still can't rock with it. So it is what it is. I know artists get finicky, and they're like, oh, you didn't let me grow. You didn't let me change, and y'all kept me in a bubble, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it just wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? Like Common still says whatever about Electric Circus. It just wasn't good. It just wasn't. Even our favorite, our greats have dropped some things. Like Jay-Z when he dropped when he first came back from the Black Album. After the Black Album, he took a couple years and he came back with, what was that? With Kingdom Come and all that. I can't remember the name of that album was. But whatever that album was, it was lukewarm. I tried to defend it, but it was lukewarm. And he even admitted he was out of practice. And, you know, everybody has those moments where they drop something and it's kind of iffy, you know, it's whatever, and then they get back on their horse. And I think that's what Goodie Mob did with World Party, because I'm going to be 100% honest. They had a couple joints after that I didn't even listen to, because cee-lo wasn't, not because cee-lo wasn't on it, I just wasn't there with them no more. They had the joints without cee-lo, and who wants to hear it without the whole group together? You know what I'm saying? That's like EPMD without, when they broke up, like who's listening to all that solo stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like I listened to it, but it's just not the same. Be honest with you. Third Base broke up. Who listened to Pete Nice and MC Search solo albums? Who did? I don't know. And it just, the list goes, you can go on and on. Like with all these groups, you can go on and say who listened to when they broke up. But with that being said, they got back together and they dropped an album before this album where it seemed like cee-lo, he dropped everything he was doing, got back with his brothers, they made up. He was still rich cee-lo, but he was like, I'm getting back into this. And they made it was like this dancey kind of track. And they dropped a whole album that the entire rap community just completely, I want to say ignored in a way, because it just never resonated with people. The single didn't resonate. The album didn't resonate. It felt kind of like we're trying to put, and I'm gonna try to be as, I don't want to be disrespectful, but it felt like if you were trying to stuff a bunch of really like muddy and grimy ideas and then put it in a shoebox that was like for high heels or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? You would take it some Timbs, you put it in an Uggs box and put the top on it and try to hand it to people like, take these pretty Uggs, but we're going to have all this grimy stuff in it. It was shiny to me. It was like, it was presented like we're going to make everybody rock with this, even though we're that. And it felt kind of contrived to me in a way, from what I heard. Now, again, I didn't listen to it that much, and I didn't think that they were really back together. I thought cee-lo felt guilty in a way. And he's like, I want to get back with my brother, show everybody I'm still cee-lo. It felt like something where, you know, it didn't even feel like they was in the studio together. Like, it just, I don't know for sure what went on with that last Goodie Mob album. But to me, I didn't feel like, you know, that they were really a unit like that. So, fast forward, we got the next Goodie Mob album. We're right here with Survival Kit. I ain't gonna waste your time a whole lot with this, but I feel like this album was much better than the last album that I listened to. And I'm gonna talk about this album in 1 second, but I want to say I don't know if or how they're promoting this album. It feels like no one knows this album is out, right? No one's talking about the Andre 3000 feature. There's an Andre 3000 feature on this Goodie Mob album. Why is no one talking about it? Because no one knows the album is out. I went and looked at the video, Frontline. I checked it out. It's been out 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks. And it got 480 something thousand views, right? Which is decent for indie album release. But I truly feel that with promotion, and maybe they want to do a grassroots thing and let it bubble slowly and whatever, and they maybe they don't want to spend no money, and they just think we can promote this from our Twitter pages and our core fans gonna follow. We don't need a budget. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like, and I've been saying this lately about quite a few older artists, I feel like they're missing a moment to promote this album. It's a good album, right? I haven't decided on my grade, but this is a good album, right? So, Organized Noise is back. This is why the people should be talking about this album. It's produced entirely by Organized Noise, who used to do all of this stuff, right? For a while, it was wonky and different producers were doing whatever. Now it's Organized Noise again. You got Big Boy and Andre on here. Dungeon Family, right? Dungeon Family's back together. Why would this not be? I don't understand. Like, I'm like sitting here, my mind is blown where you could have the entire Dungeon Family back on an album, but no one know. Like, its promo is almost next to none. They should be on all of them in a room. Breakfast Club, Hot 97, all everywhere. Angie Martinez. This thing should be everywhere. These guys should be. You ain't got to do nothing but FaceTime. You ain't got to do nothing but a Zoom call. Put all four of them on the Zoom call. They should be everywhere. Now, I ain't even talking about paying money to. You should be doing that too. Paying money to get the commercials on everybody's Instagram feed. There is no promo to me for this album. I feel like I've stumbled on this album. Stumbled. And with all these Goodie Mob fans internationally, not just local, international. You got cee-lo spitting the best rhymes of his career on this album. I think cee-lo is I think they all at the best they've ever been on this album. Their rhymes are immaculate on here. Like, as far as it's like they all know who they are. T-Mo not trying to be Cool Joe not trying to be Gip not trying to be cee-lo. Like, it's no one's trying to be in. They're in no one's shadow. This is their best they've ever been. The only thing missing on here to me is more creative skit play. You have really one skit with DC, what's this kid's name? DC Young Fly. And the other two skits are Big Rube doing his thing, which we love Big Rube. Now, it needs to be more. They did songs, which is great, but Goodie Mob albums, Outkast albums, those are experiences. They're not just a collection of songs. You got experience. You got little skits where they're walking up to the weed man and asking how much is the bag, and little stuff that comes in handy down the line when you've heard it all, and then you go back in the little skits. Now they are entertaining, and they lead into new songs. They make the song sound new because the skit is, you didn't listen to the skit that much, and now, like, you know, like you listen to Cash, you go back to y'all got that Pimp Trick Gangsta Click album. I'm lock you in here, all that little stuff. You know what I'm saying? How much for the 55? You know what I'm saying? Like, all that little stuff adds color to the album. I think this album lacks the color of the little slices of life are missing from this album. Like, one song goes off, another song comes on. It has no intro. Like, it's just the beat start playing, which is whatever. It's fine. It's fine. If you just wanted to keep it a certain way, me personally, I don't think albums at the level we're at with this music, especially rap music, I think albums that just go one song on, one song off, one song, I think that's kind of like you're selling yourself short and you're selling the audience short. I think you need to be more, you have to figure out how to get skit play in these albums. You have to. There is no way to do you're not going to call an album a classic that doesn't have some form of chances taken, some form of creative just changes up through the music. Now, I say all that to say the music this is a good album. You understand? Organized Noise did a good album. Now, what you got to understand too also is it's not the same Organized Noise. They've grown. Rico and Sleepy Brown, they've grown, they've changed, and this is different, right? They're toying with a lot of different sounds, which they always have. They've always toyed with rock, reggae, ska, all that stuff. They've always toyed with it, and it's always been refreshing, and it's no different here. They got the funk. I expected more funk, to be honest with you, but they got funk on here. They got hip-hop, b-boy, everything is on here. So I've been talking for a minute, and it is what it is. If I'm going to put a timestamp for when the review starts, but I just had a lot to say about the album. I think there is not enough promo. And Andre 3000 verse, this dude ain't rap with these dudes. What? How many years? He ain't on nothing with these guys. Nothing. He ain't even in the documentary. He ain't even in the documentary. Like, this guy's rapping on here. And the only way you know, because his name, you got to look in the credits and see Andre Benjamin as a writer. They don't even say featuring anything. I heard it during the humble that he started rapping, like, oh damn, they got Dre on here. I think this album is missing this is a moment in time that should be stamped. There's nothing else to do right now. It's COVID. People are in their homes. You should be listening to music. They should have people on the ground screaming, yo, Goodie Mob back, and the whole Dungeon family's on there. Like, Dre's on there, Big Boy, everybody's back. Organized Noise did all the beats. Yo, y'all hear it? Like, it's crazy. And I feel like it's not being presented right. It's just like Goodie Mob is just out here by himself. And that's not the case. They got the team behind them. And we're not getting that full vibe. But I talked too long. So let me talk about the album. Right here is where the review is going to begin. Goodie Mob Survival Kit. And I'm going to start it off with track 1, Are You Ready? Featuring Chuck D. I'm going song for song. It has hard rock riffs, hip hop rock feel, hard fast tempo with a hard kick and snare. The word hard is in it. It's rebel music. Chuck D is on the hook. It starts it out. I had to listen to this a couple times to get into it. I thought it was good from the first time I heard it, but I was like, this is to start the album off. This is not to catch the people that they're trying to catch. But it's a good song. It's not bad at all. The more I listen to it, the better it got. Chuck D made more sense the more I listen to it. It just sounds, they work well together. I like this song. Next song, Frontline. It's a bouncy, deep bass hit. It carries the track, a hard kick thump and a hard clap snare with the angry dystopian hook. Courtesy of Cool Joe and T-Mo. My writing is crazy on this one. Courtesy of Cool Joe and T-Mo, more futuristic war sounds, rebellion, and government distrust, which is what we've grown to know Goodie Mob for. That's what we expect. They put back what we wanted from the beginning, and this is what we're getting. Just Goodie Mob at their best, and I can't say enough about how good and clever these lyrics are on this album. So let me move forward. 2 songs, they're both good. Next song, Curry Goat. It's a ska, Jamaican reggae feel, very international feeling to me. cee-lo begins the track, just a dope verse. I like how he came off. It's the wah-wah guitar riffs and an echoey rim shot snare. Like, again, very Caribbean, very funk to me. It's got Goodie Mob written, Organized Noise written all over it. And I think that this is one of those ones that could have benefited with a nice intro skit. But again, this is nothing wrong with the song. All of this stuff you're going to have to digest. It's not normal. It's not what we're hearing right now. It's Goodie Mob. So you're going to have to reverse your mind back to what Goodie Mob does. And this is where you're going to understand his music. At first, you're going to be kind of like, what's going on with it? But it gets, once you back up, understand this Organized Noise and Goodie Mob. This is not that. You know what I'm saying? This ain't T.I. This ain't Lil Wayne. This is them. So then you're going to understand where they're going with this. Next song, No Cigar, featuring Andre 3000. Mid-tempo track with a wobbly bass synth. It gets increasingly better as the additional spacey synths change pattern and become more complex and prominent within the track. The beat changes several times, providing an eloquent and welcome change of pace. It's a mellow mood, but still hard. Goodie sounds like Goodie in purest form. Dre was a welcome surprise, a dope verse. The cadences and patterns, classic Dre. I really dig him on this track. Goodie sounds dope. Who Wants Smoke? That hook is an acquired taste, but I began to like it. I like the whole thing. Next song, Pray for the Sheep, featuring Big Boy. Fluid live sounding drum programming, which sounds like an odd oxymoron. Live drum programming. Okay. But it's dope. Timo starts it off with an amazing, quirky, off-kilter verse that sets the mood perfectly. Melodic mid-tempo, an album track. It's not a single. To me, it feels like an album track. And Big Boy sounds, Primo, Daddy, fast sax. Cujo is again the hook master. I like that. Cujo does most of the hooks, in my opinion, and he sets the mood. I think he really makes good hooks. It feels like Goodie when he's on there. Next track, DC Young Fly, which is the one and only skit, if I'm not mistaken. And I just listened to this more than once, so this is the only skit on here, and it's probably less than a minute. And it really has nothing to do with Goodie Mob, but it is what it is. All right, they're talking about old places in the hood where they used to be. Next track, number 7, For My People. Brass electronic horns carry the track, triple hi-hats with a celebratory xylophone type synth, which layer the undertrack. It's more protest and rebel talk. Timo speaks of the lack of reparations and how the struggle is still in effect. And cee-lo drops socially conscious double entendres. He drops in with a couple social media references. The song is dope. I think this is one of the more organized, noisy type tracks on here. Next track, Big Rube's Road Break. We always love Big Rube. He always comes through with the poetry, sets the mood, the tone of what is being said, and he did it again. Classic Big Rube. Next track, Off Road. This is the country one. Very country cowboy twang, very hillbilly meets hip hop. Feels like a redneck dive bar. It's a thin line between a joke and a parody and serious. It's an acquired taste. If you get the irony, then you can laugh at it. You can laugh with it and not at it. Violent undertones on here, a lot of gun talk, gunplay with the country voice. I believe it's not a parody. They took the beat, but they put Goodie Mob sensibility over it, and they over accentuated a lot of the country grammar, and they just made it more. It's almost like they're talking back to the person who has the mentality of they're going to come and do this and that to whoever they're going to do it to. They're responding to them with their own language, and it is what it is. It has a breakbeat under it, like the old Big Daddy Kane used this. Marley Marsh used that breakbeat, and they slowed it down and put it under there, and they made it hip-hop hillbilly. And if you can get past them being so, like, overly cliche, not cliche, but stereotypical, it is dope. Like, I think it's trying to be not a parody, but it's trying to be dark and witty to a degree. So therefore, I can accept it and I can listen to it because I listen to what they say. Their words make this album digestible. It makes the beats better. These guys rapping makes the songs that's already good better. Next track, Try We. It's a light snare tap, another reggae ska type hook with a Jamaican bounce. More war lyrics and gun talk, as well as contradicting the fake rappers, the fake MCs, fake drug dealers. Just pointing out the facts. I like this song. There is no song on here that I can say I don't like that song. Now, some stuff I like better, and some stuff I won't be listening to again. But there's nothing that I'm going to say I don't like. Next track, Me Time. Open, airy, mid-tempo track with R&B overtones, sing-songy hook. It's a semi-female, catchy type of sound, but not really. More grown folk talk and reflective emo. The redirect beat changes into classic southern bop randomly. It's a good track. I don't know if any of that made any sense, but it's a good track. The beat changes up, and it's a good track to me. Next song, Back to Back, which is probably my favorite song on here. It's the coolest track on here to me. Very mellow bass line carries the load, while light singing and electronic guitar musings and spacey synths keep it moving. This is more of a female track than the other one, but it's still Goodie Mob. Cujo's still Cujo. Again, to me, my favorite track that I would go back to again. I really like Back to Back. It's dope. I saved that in my favorites so I can play that when I want. Next track, Survival Kit. It's a dope dance feel. This is more of a world party type of track. You know what I'm saying? They still spitting goody lyrics, but it's dope. Next track, Calm Before the Storm. 70s ballad feel, slow tempo, repetitive pianos and flutes. It's a fire track to me. I think that there's not afraid to do what a lot of people won't go these routes they're going. A lot of people wouldn't have done the off-road track, and a lot of people wouldn't have done Calm Before the Storm because they're scared to do it. Again, if you throw a couple skits in here, this album is way better if you can get a little more into what their day-to-day is. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, this album is amazing. Next track, Big Rube's Amazing Break, which is another verse, spoken word piece by Big Rube. Always insightful. Last but not least, Amazing Grace. It's a classic organized groove, live instrumentation, ghetto gospel, talking about the advantages of growing old, the awareness of being an elder statesman and getting those grades and not feeling, embarrassed by it. Like, cool, cee-lo's like, don't call me Unc, call me Crunk. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's explaining that, yeah, you're getting gray, we're getting old, but we're not old. We're still here and we still got something to say. And on that note, I like this album. I'm going to give it a B+++. I think it's a good album. Again, I don't like the promo of it, but maybe I'm asking for too much in 2020, where just let these older cats rap and we go find it. But I think the promo needs to be better. And I think they need to be doing more interviews. I think they need to be everywhere. They come up in my feed here and there, these random interviews at these random stations, but it's never about the album. It's about other stuff. And I need them to get focused. I need these older artists to get focused. Go check this Goodie Mob Survival Kit out. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff like that there. We got, for the upcoming artists that want to leg up, I got the Audio Liquor Indie mobile app. We got the Indie Gear. We got all kind of playlists and all this kind of stuff. Go to clbmg.com. See if you want to put your music on the playlist and show your boy some love. Follow on social media. I'm going to catch y'all on the flip. Peace.